Alright, here we go. So, got my arm dragons here, and this deck is finally complete. I got all the cards crafted that I wanted, so it's the most consistent version of the deck. Plays extremely well, rarely ever brick with this deck. It has a lot of follow-up plays that you can make. Can pretty much do everything. You can play with and without the extra deck, and the extra deck helps this put up one of the biggest, craziest bodies that you can put up. So go into Galaxy Tomahawk right here, and I'm going to do the more consistent version of the combo, so that way you guys understand how exactly to do this combo if you don't have Arm Dragon Flash in hand. If your inboard looks a little different, if your cards look a little different, I just wanted to showcase that. So I'm going to go into Barricade Board Blocker and then activate the effect of Barricade Board Blocker. If you don't have that, if you have Arm Dragon Flash in hand, use Arm Dragon Flash to like basically do the Dagda play. Don't actually activate Barricade Board Blocker. Only activate it if you don't have this card in hand. I'm only activating it to show how to trigger the Dagda right here. That's why I activate. So go Link Spider right here, and then I'm going to go into Predator Plant Verde Anaconda. And then there is one thing that I do right here that I do want to talk about. So you could go Barricade Board Blocker plus this straight into Aurora Dun, but if you have Tempest or Burner plus Arm Dragon Flash, or Tempest and Burner in the graveyard, and I haven't normal summoned yet. I'll show that I haven't normal summoned yet. So I still got my 1 right there. I don't know if y'all can see right there, there's a 1. It means I haven't normal summoned yet. So I could activate Flash, normal Ash, or activate Tempest, bring it out, or Burner, bring it out, and then normal this or whatever normal I can do. Basically, whatever you need to do to get an extra body out, you do that. Plus activate Flash or get 2 bodies out, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. Get 2 bodies out, go into your IP Masquerena. Now, if you don't have that play, it's completely fine. You just won't have an IP Masquerena on the field. That's the only thing that happens there. Don't worry about it. It's not that important, but I just wanted to mention that. Go IP Masquerena. You want to do that before you go into Aurora Dun, and you also want to have your Predator Plant Verde Anaconda out before you go into your Aurora Dun as well. Then you're going to tribute off these 2 to go into Warbland. Don't activate the Warbland on field because it will lock you into wins, and you don't want to do that because the next monster you need is actually a light. So go Cupid Pitch, you increase the level, and then go into Borolo Savage Dragon. That'll give you a Omni Negate depending on how many counters it has. Since we use Aurora Dun, we can basically equip that one, giving us 3 counters once per turn for our Omni Negate. And then the Cupid Pitch will search for Nemesis Corridor. We're going to summon out Nemesis Corridor, unbanishing our Galaxy Tomahawk. You can unbanish whatever you need to unbanish, but I thought that would be one of the better cards to unbanish because then we could use it again. Even though there's not a lot of targets left in the extra deck over here, the only thing that'll be left is Access Code Talker and Nightmare Unicorn, because we are going to use Appaloosa on their turn. So we're going to use DPE to pop the Scythe. So we also have IP Masquerade to link on our opponent's turn. We have Thunder Dragon Colossus to prevent them from adding. Borolo Savage Dragon also has a Omni Negate. So we're going to use that Omni Negate to stop this card. And then in our graveyard, we have Dasher, so we can special summon a monster out that we draw. We have Denier, which will be a free body on the field on our own turn. And then we also have Tempest in graveyard right here, which could be another body. So on our turn, we have more follow-ups. So I go into Appaloosa right here. That's a 3 monster negate. I've already used my Borolo Savage Omni Negate for this turn, and then they can't add anything. DPE is 100% going to come back. I'm going to use Dasher to bring out Arm Dragon Thunder level 5. And I still haven't even used my Tempest in graveyard to bring itself back out yet because I'm still in the draw phase, but when I get to the main phase, I'll be able to bring out a bunch of bodies from my graveyard. Then he's going to activate this Vendread, pop in my Borolo Savage Dragon. and then DPE comes back. I'm going to activate DPE to trigger my Colossus plus his face down, and then I'm going to use Nemesis Corridor as a way to protect this card. Now, if my opponent didn't quit right here, literally, for follow-up, I literally have this card right here, Tempest. Look, it's right here. You can banish a total of 2 wind or dragon monsters from your hand and or graveyard to special summon this card from your hand or graveyard. Pretty much everything in here is wind or dragon. So dragon, that's wind. Let's see here. That one right there is a wind, wind and dragon, wind and dragon, then wind and wind and dragon. So basically, Tempest was going to come back by just simply banishing those, and then also Denier still in my graveyard. Haven't used the effect of that. I can use this card to special summon itself. So if this card, or let's see here, where is it at? If you have a Destiny Hero monster on the field or in the graveyard, other than Destiny Hero, Denier, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. So this card was going to be able to come back, and it's a once per duel effect, so you can do it once pretty much. But Denier plus the Tempest are both going to come back as bodies, meaning that I could 100% go into Nightmare Unicorn with the Armed Dragon Thunder Tempest plus Denier, spin back this last token. He wouldn't have had anything else on his side of the field. I would have had 4 monsters with at least 2k attack because of the Nightmare Unicorn being at 2200. If it was something else on the field that I wanted to spin back, I could do that as well. Or I could even go into Access Code Talker and clear their field using these cards that are on my field to go into Access Code Talker and pretty much body them. I mean, I have options, and I still haven't even used Ash Blossom yet. So if I wanted to climb, I could literally go Nightmare Unicorn, spin, and then if I had a different way to bring another body out, or if I had 2 cards in hand, if I didn't use that effect earlier to discard the White Veil, I could have used White Veil from hand, discarded that now to go as a discard target for a Unicorn, then normal Ash, and then just go into Access Code Talker. So I had plays for days to pretty much dismantle my opponent's board. So I wanted to point all that out. So let's go look at my actual deck itself and how it's constructed. So here's the deck. This is my extra deck. There are some flex spots in here. Of course, you don't have to run Access Code Talker, you don't have to run Unicorn, but I do recommend pretty much everything else because these are pretty much the only 2 cards that you're really going to have left after you do the combo. Sometimes you'll still have Appaloosa plus IP in here as well. If you are not able to bring out the IP Masquerena in that first combo, which sometimes it does happen, but just wanted to point that out. So what else could you possibly run in the deck? Well, you got some Link 5s that you could go into. Like this here, you can use, you could basically use your IP Masquerena, the Predator Plant Verde Anaconda, plus something else, and something that your opponents put on the field to basically tribute off their monster when they get it on the field. You could do that. You could also go Borlin Dragon. I just choose not to run this card, but you could, and this one attacks everything on their side of the field. There are a lot of monsters that you could go into from the extra deck. If I sit here and explain all of them, then we'll be here all day. But basically, your extra deck, you got a crazy inboard, and then even without the extra deck, if you get scythe locked or anything that prevents you from being able to use the extra deck, this deck 100% can play without the extra deck. You have a lot of bosses in here. This is pretty much a deck that pumps out level 7s, and those level 7s are no joke. So this card right here, this is your main starter for the deck. And not only is your main starter, but it is one of the highest attack monsters that you can get out onto the field quickly. It only has 2800 right now, but you can boost this attack. So it has an ability to send a monster from your deck to the graveyard to boost its attack to 300. So super powerful effect. Then you have Tempest and Blaster. Tempest plus Blaster basically can be brought out easily with those cards. These two monsters have a recurring effect to where you can keep bringing them out. Tempest is a lot better in this particular deck because there's a lot of wind monsters in this deck, but Blaster is no joke too because there still are a lot of dragons. Not a lot of fire in here. The only real fire in here is, other than the main other cards, is your Ash Blossoms, which sometimes can happen, which is why I have 3 Ash Blossoms in here and 2 Maxis. I would prefer to run 3 Maxis and 2 Ash, but in this particular case, I just kept it like this. I thought it was good. There are other flex spots in here that you could change up if you're going second a lot and you feel like your opponents are putting up boards that you can't really break through. You can run 3 Dark Ruler no more, and you could actually take out White Veil. You could take out Armed Dragon Lightning, and you could potentially even take out like maybe one of your Ash Blossoms and run 3 Dark Ruler no more. Originally, that's how my deck was. I had 3 Dark Ruler no more, and it plays amazing because when you activate Dark Ruler no more, you can break your opponent's board with just these cards so easily, very easily. This one can absolutely destroy, run over whatever their top boss monster is. White Veil can clear out all their back row, and you have an easy way of getting to it. Everything in this deck pretty much is searchable. So if you're going to play without the extra deck, let's talk about some of that, right? And so we'll start with the weaker of the bosses, and we'll kind of look at their effects. So Blaster will probably be one of the weaker versions of monsters in this particular deck, but basically you can discard this card and 1 fire monster to the graveyard, then target 1 card on the field, destroy that target. Sounds pretty cool, right? Very easy effect. So the fire monster that you would have more than likely would be Ash Blossom or your burners. Once you use the effect of burner to get Blaster out, then basically you just got a bunch of free burners that you can use as discard targets to pop a card on the field, right? And then you can use the Blaster to banish those burners that you just used to pop a card on the field to bring it back onto the field. The Blaster plus 1 more dragon that you have in the graveyard, and more than likely you're going to have a graveyard full of dragons. Then Tempest has another effect just kind of similar to that. If this card is banished, basically you can if you can add 1 wind monster from your deck to your hand. What wind monster that could be, you could honestly run 3 Nemesis Corridor. That would make the most sense to me if you wanted to do that, because Nemesis Corridor can unbanish this card, put it back into the deck, then you can use it again. So there's kind of some recursion that can kind of go on there. If you want to do that, you can do that. It's up to you. So then those are the two Dragon Rulers engines basically. Then you have Armed Dragon Thunder level 3. The way that the Armed Dragon engine works is they climb. So you go 3, 5, 7, 10 basically. That's the first effect pretty much, is to climb. So you contribute that card off plus 1 card in hand to climb up to the next tier, or 1 monster to climb up to the next tier. So you would go 3 to 5 to 7, which you can do either one of these 2 7s, and then up to the 10s. And the 10s are really, really, really powerful, right? So here we go. So let's now look at let's look at the next monster So, or actually the second effect of all of these, the discard effect. So if they get discarded, if this one gets discarded, you draw a card. So you can draw one card. If 5 gets discarded, you can add a armed dragon from your deck to your hand. So it says add one armed, or this is level 7. So yeah, level 7 you can add one armed dragon card. That means you can add flash, you can add lightning, anything that has armed dragon in the name. You could add armed dragon level 10 white, or thunder level 10, whatever the case, you can add it. Then 5 has a different effect, which I think is better to some degree. You can add one level 5 or higher wind dragon monster from your deck to your hand. That means that you could add the Dragoonity Armor Graham. You could add Tempest. You could add pretty much anything in this deck except for the burner and blaster stuff. So there's a lot of searchability here. You could also add this one, this card. Then your level 7, when you go to tribute this, you could send this card from your hand, send one card from your hand to special summon a level 10 armed dragon monster. Now if you go into these two, when this one hits the field, basically it searches for White Veil. White Veil is good, I'll explain that in a second. And then armed dragon thunder level 10 is good. So let's look at Dragoonity Armor Graham real quick. This card, each time that you destroy a monster that your opponents have, you can basically equip it to this card when you attack. So you can target one face-up monster. Its effects are negated. It also loses 1,000 attack. And this card can basically, you banish 2 dragons or winged beasts from your graveyard to special summon this card from your hand or graveyard. You're going to have a lot of those in your graveyard anyways. So this will be a pretty easy card to bring out. It's a pretty easy card to discard without having to think about it too strongly if you need to discard something. And this is one of the options, or a hand trap or something, you would discard this instead because it's very easy to bring out. Then, of course, like I say, when your opponent monster is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can equip it to this card. So, it doesn't even have to be this card that destroys it, but it also helps you to lower the attack of one of your opponent's monsters. And the more cards get equipped to this, the lower their attack gets. So then, let's look at this boss monster here, because I kind of want to explain the main boss monster last because it has the most effects. And then it also has a lot of other cards that support that go with it to make it better. So Armed Dragon, level 10 white. This card right here allows you to add White Veil when it's brought out to the field. So special summon this card from your hand. Then you can add one White Veil from your deck to your hand. Now, it is important to know you need to special summon this card from your hand to be able to get that White Veil. If you don't do it that way, if you go level 7 into this card, you won't be able to get that effect. But there is a way to search that and do this. So you can search this card off of your level 7 or your level 5, either one. And then you can literally summon it out from the other one, from level 5, or I mean from level 7. So basically you have to climb up to get to this card, and then once you get it out, then of course you can grab the White Veil. Now, why is White Veil good? Well, basically this deals with back row decks. While the equipped monster battles, your opponent cannot activate any spell or traps until the end of the damage step. When an attack is declared involving the equipped monster, face-up spell and traps your opponent have are negated. Now, this actually destroys all their spell and traps too when a monster is destroyed that's equipped with this card. So here's that effect. When the equipped monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can destroy all spell trap cards your opponents control. So if they're running skill drain and floodgates and all of that stuff like that, equip White Veil to it, attack, basically wipes all that out. Makes it to where now you're open to pretty much make plays if they got skill drain. This deck can play through skill drain too. That's another thing. That's another important part of all of this. All of the effects of the tributing and all of that stuff are done as cost, and they jump off the field. So you basically can play through skill drain. Even Pile Arm Dragon can play through skill drain. When you activate this card's effect, it sends the monster from your deck as cost. So you can play through skill drain. You could run skill drain in this deck and pretty much like still body people. You just won't be able to make the extra deck plays because they lose their effects. But the monsters themselves will still be able to play through skill drain. The White Veil can play through skill drain. You can put skill drain on your side of the field and then put White Veil up, and your opponents really can't do anything. Like it destroys their back row, and you just get a bunch of big bodies that they can't really deal with. And this card will just keep gaining attack. So that's the cool thing. So now let's talk about, oh yeah, and I didn't mention this effect here. At the start of the damage step, if this card attacks, you can destroy one card on the field. So basically, going to attack, pop a card on the field. Then we got basically a special summon of one level 3 armed dragon. Super simple effect. This card right here has a couple effects to it. One of them is it is protection for your armed dragons. If they're to be destroyed, you can basically protect them for one by discarding this card. Also, you can boost their attacks. So on your own turn, your attack gains by the level plus 100, which is very important for one card that's in this deck. The main boss normal monster, or the main normal deck main deck boss monster, can use this effect to gain attack, and it is very good when it gets to a certain attack, which takes about 7 turns to get to that point, but it can happen faster. So add one armored dragon monster with an equipped or a lower level from the graveyard to the hand. So this is a way to where if you discard too many cards, you can bring one back and discard it again, or you can bring it back and just use it. So that's a pretty good effect. Both of those are pretty good effects. One of them gives you advantage, the other one gives you the ability to get closer to just absolutely killing your opponent at a particular time. It takes time to get to that point, but when you get there, you can absolutely just destroy your opponents. So lastly, oh yeah, and this card's a 1-card Colossus. If y'all didn't know about this one, basically you can unbanish a card to special summon this, and since it happens from the hand, it triggers Thunder Dragon Colossus, allowing you to just go straight into Colossus. So you can run 3 of these if you wanted to. You could run 3 Dark Ruler No Mores if you're going second, and it'll help this deck tremendously because this deck is really powerful, good going first and second, but it'll be even better doing that to go second. I did just want to explain that. So lastly, our big boss monster works extremely well with Armed Dragon Lightning on the field because this will act as destruction protection. And this card doesn't really have any destruction protection except for from battle. So this card names become Armed Dragon level 10 on the field, and when you summon this card out, unless they're able to lower your attack in some kind of way, this card is going to start out with already the main 4 effects of it are already going to be equipped to it when it comes out. The first effect, this card becomes Armed Dragon level 10 when it hits the field, which isn't that big of a deal. The second effect is they can't use something to take this card. They can't use like a they can't use something like a card that can steal, a mind control kind of stealing card or change of heart or anything like that, because control of this card cannot switch, so they can't take it. So this card will stay on their side of the field. They can't use it against you. Then cannot be destroyed by battle, so they can't just attack into this card to destroy it, which is why this Armed Dragon Lightning is really good in this particular deck, because basically it will prevent them from being able to just Raigeki this thing. They can Raigeki it, but just not immediately. Once this card hits the field plus this one, and then this card also facilitates being able to get your attack boost. Remember when I talked about the level 10, when I said the level times 100, you boost the attack. That means this level is 10, so that's 1000 attack on your turn each time you activate the effect. Then this card has its own attack boosting ability on your opponent's turn. So on your opponent's turn, you could send one card from your hand to the graveyard, then target one other card on the field and destroy it. And if you do, this card gains 1000 attack. Now, why is this card plus this card good? Because on your turn, basically you can add a armed dragon if you need to, if you don't have one in hand, and then you can use it on their turn to discard and pop a card on the field. Now, you could use the other effect of this card to keep boosting the attack. So if you do have armed dragons, you can just boost the attack. Each time you keep boosting the attack, eventually you're going to get closer and closer to the main effect, which is basically a win the game effect. When you get to 10,000 attack with this card, I mean that your opponents are on a timer. They're pretty much on a 7-turn timer with this, which is this card is going to give it 1000 on your turn. On your turn. And then this effect's going to give them 1000 on their turn plus a pop. So that's 4000, 5000, 6000, 7000, 8000, 9000, 10,000. 7-turn timer for them. And they can't destroy it by battle. They gotta get this card off the field. If they don't, when it hits 10,000, you pretty much destroy all other cards on the field, and then you just attack for game. So this puts them on a timer. And then it's GG's. So yeah, that's pretty much the full deck. So you got your extra deck, which is the combo that you guys saw, plus the main deck, and you could put both of them up at the same time and just kind of use one engine as a way to stall and just keep the field clear. And then you could just basically beat them if you can't beat them already. If they put up Crooked Cook or something like that, I don't know. If they put up Crooked Cook, you really don't have a way to deal with that anyways, which is why possibly taking out maybe the Unicorn or maybe the Access Code Talker and running that Link 5 that I was talking about, Underworld Goddess. This one contributed off, and then you don't have to worry about it, which is why this card could be better than running maybe a Nightmare Unicorn. But I like the level 3 body and being able to spin and then just go into Access Code Talker. But there's not really any good piercers in this deck. There's no way to really get like piercing damage. If they put up a Crooked Cook or something like that, there's no way to really tribute your opponent's monsters with this deck. But for the most part, the way that it plays is pretty powerful. And like I said, you can put Dark Ruler no more in here. You can maybe take out 2 Maxis plus White Veil if you wanted to run that. You could do it that way, or you could even take this card out plus White Veil and then run Dark Ruler no more, because let's be honest, this particular effect is kind of like a flex. Like if you can get this card to 10,000 attack and actually use this effect to destroy all the other cards on the field, you're pretty much flexing on your opponents, if I'm being honest. Like more than likely, if it takes you 7 turns, you're gonna have enough advantage being generated from other cards to make other plays anyways. So you're kind of flexing on your opponents at that point. So, but I did want to mention it, so yeah. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and you don't have to run it at 40 cards. If you want to run more of these, you can. 100% you can run this card with 2 more in there. The deck will still be extremely consistent. The more monsters you put in here, the more it still stays consistent, as long as you're putting bodies in here that work with the deck, with the archetype. So you can still do that. So it doesn't prohibit anything. There's still also another monster that you could run in here if you wanted to take out the White Veil and the Armed Dragon Lightning, and then maybe even 1 Maxi. There is another card, the Ninja Turtle. No, it's not really the Ninja Turtle, but Artillery Catapult Turtle. If you're having consistency problems with this particular deck, take White Veil out, take out Armed Dragon Lightning, and potentially take out one of your Maxis, and then basically it'll boost your consistency even further, because then it'll be extremely hard for you to draw into too many spells and traps, which there's no traps in here anyways, but you won't draw into too many spells. This card right here would be your main normal summon, because you tribute this off, go straight into level 5, and then at that point all you would have to do is activate that level 5, go into level 7. The level 7 that you would go into, meaning that you're basically only discarding one card from your hand at that point to go into Pile Arm Dragon. Pile Arm Dragon is full combo. Pile Arm Dragon, full combo. That would use your normal summon. That's the best possible way to play, which is why this right here. And if you do that, like let's say you got this right, and then let's say the monster that you have in hand that you're going to discard, let's say that monster is Maxi. Maxi won't give you any effect, and you discard, you're basically going to go Artillery, discard Maxi, and then bring out Pile Arm Dragon from level 5. So this will bring out level 5, discard Maxi to go into level 7. You would go into Pile Arm Dragon instead. Once you go Pile Arm Dragon, then you would basically use this card's effect to pitch at level 5 or level 7 at that point to get its effects. And the better card to pitch would be the level 5. And the reason why level 5 over level 7 is because level 5 allows you to add one wind dragon monster from your deck to your hand. You would add Tempest. Then once you add Tempest, that would allow you to basically banish the 2 cards that are in your graveyard. So the Catapult Turtle plus the Maxi. Well, actually banish a total of 2 wind and or dragons from your hand or grave. Well, no, that wouldn't work then. That would not work. So I guess you would have to. Well, actually, no, you will have them in graveyard to get to it, because Pile Arm Dragon. Let's see. So I guess you wouldn't be able to do that one. So that one wouldn't work. So you would need one other armed dragon. Technically you would. Because, yeah, technically you still would. Because the armed dragon level 5 wouldn't be able to climb. So you would have one in graveyard. So you would need one more in graveyard to basically get out Tempest. But there should be a route. There should be a route some kind of way. Because there's enough cards in here to where you're not going to grab fucking all of these and all of these. So technically you still need some other wind or dragon in hand. So to be able to extend at that point. And then you could go Tempest, which I've never had that issue. Usually I'm pretty smart about how to get to what I need to get to make whatever plays I need to make. This deck basically climbs, and once you get to Tempest and you get Tempest out, I'm thinking of problems that I've never even run into, which are like problems bricking. But a bigger time where you brick with this deck would be like if you drew both of these. If you draw both of these, yeah, you bricked pretty much. That's that. You can't do the Aurora Dunn line if you draw both of these. And I don't think I've ever drawn both of these, but I have drawn one plus Corridor plus like a couple armed dragons, which means that you can discard this, but you can't really discard this because you need it to bring out Colossus. So that's an issue that I kind of had, which is why you could run 3 of these if you choose to do so. But right now, if I'm being honest, this deck was less consistent than what it is now, and it was performing perfectly. If I'm being honest, it was running extremely smoothly, and that was with this card in the deck itself running extremely smoothly. Now I've added these 3 plus this one plus these 3 cards, and it runs so much better than what it did before. I guarantee you this deck is so much more consistent than I've ever played it before. And now it's like it runs extremely smooth. So this is the most consistent, best version of the deck that I've played so far, with the exception to them banning Union Carrier. The ban of Union Carrier changed a little bit because beforehand I was locking my opponent out of the extra deck until they destroyed Thunder Dragon Colossus. Now the combo is a little bit different. I'm not gonna lie, combo is a little bit different. There was an infinite negate that happened beforehand that kind of got dealt with, but for the most part, yeah, you were pretty much locking your opponents out of the extra deck indefinitely, like until they destroyed Thunder Dragon Colossus, or you were doing the infinite negate combo, which they were never going to be able to play, if I'm being honest. But after they dealt with that Union Carrier, they banned that card. Now you can't. They released these cards, which if these were out at the same time as Carrier, like our opponent wouldn't be able to do anything. This would be the most consistent way to get out this card, Galaxy Tomahawk. Your opponents wouldn't be able to do anything. They would take an L every game. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video. If you think that this is a deck that you would want to play, then craft it, try it out, tell me if you like it. If not, then hey, I'm just giving y'all options.